In the summer of 1922, a man named D.C. Stephenson stood before a crowd of 10,000 people in Kokomo, Indiana. He didn't arrive on foot. He didn't take the stage from the wings. No, Stephenson descended from the sky in an airplane, touching down in front of a massive gathering of white-robed figures. This wasn't a religious revival. This wasn't a carnival. This was a Ku Klux Klan rally, and the man stepping out of that plane was about to become one of the most powerful political figures in the state. Not through some shadow network, not through bribes and blackmail alone, but through an open, aggressive, and wildly successful campaign to put Klan members into every level of government. Mayors, sheriffs, judges, state legislators, even the governor himself. And Indiana wasn't alone. Across the United States in the 1920s, the KKK wasn't just a terrorist organization. It was a political party. And in some places, it won. This is the story of how the Ku Klux Klan didn't just influence American government in the early 20th century. It became the government. And what happened next is one of the most disturbing chapters in U.S. history. Let's start with a number, 4 million. That's how many members the Ku Klux Klan claimed at its peak in the mid-1920s. To put that in perspective, the entire population of the United States in 1920 was around 106 million. That means roughly 1 in every 25 Americans was a Klan member. But here's the thing. This wasn't the Klan of Reconstruction. This wasn't the post-Civil War vigilante group that terrorized formerly enslaved people in the South. This was the Second Klan, reborn in 1915, and it had evolved. It had modernized. It had gone mainstream. The Second Klan was founded on Thanksgiving night in 1915 atop Stone Mountain, Georgia, by a man named William Joseph Simmons. Simmons was a former preacher, a failed soldier, and a fraternal organization enthusiast. He saw an opportunity. The film The Birth of a Nation had just been released, glorifying the original Klan as heroes who saved the South from chaos. The movie was a massive hit. President Woodrow Wilson reportedly screened it at the White House and called it history written with lightning. Simmons used that cultural moment to rebrand the Klan. He added rituals, costumes, and a hierarchy borrowed from fraternal orders like the Masons. He made it feel official, exclusive, powerful. But the real genius of the Second Klan wasn't Simmons. It was the marketing. In 1920, Simmons hired 2 publicists, Edward Young Clark and Elizabeth Tyler, to grow the organization. They turned the Klan into a business. Recruiters, called Kleagles, were paid $10 for every new member they signed up. Membership cost $10, which included a robe and hood. The Klan wasn't just selling racism, it was selling belonging, status, a sense of control in a rapidly changing America. And it worked. Within a few years, the Klan had millions of members across the country, not just in the South. In the Midwest, the West Coast, even in major northern cities like Detroit, Chicago, and New York. And here's the crucial part. The 1920s Klan wasn't just about anti-black racism. It expanded its targets: Catholics, Jews, immigrants, bootleggers, anyone seen as a threat to white Protestant America. This broader appeal allowed the Klan to grow beyond the former Confederate states and into places like Indiana, Oregon, and Colorado. It positioned itself as the defender of traditional American values against moral decay, crime, and foreign influence. In doing so, it became a mass movement, and mass movements vote. So let's talk about Indiana. If there's one state that embodies the political power of the 1920s Klan, it's Indiana. At its peak, the Indiana Klan had an estimated 250,000 to 400,000 members. In a state with a population of just under 3 million, That meant roughly 1 in every 7 or 8 people was in the Klan. But more importantly, they were organized, they were disciplined, and they were led by D.C. Stephenson. David Curtis Stephenson was a salesman, a war veteran, and a man with towering political ambition. He became the Grand Dragon of the Indiana Klan in 1923, and he didn't just run the Klan, he ran Indiana. Stephenson understood that the Klan's real power wasn't in nighttime terror, though that still happened. It was in daylight politics. He built a machine. Klan members were expected to vote as a bloc. Candidates who wanted Klan support had to pledge loyalty, often in secret meetings. Those who did were rewarded with campaign funds, grassroots organizing, and thousands of guaranteed votes. Those who didn't were targeted, smeared, destroyed. In 1924, the Klan helped elect a Republican governor, Edward Jackson. Jackson wasn't just Klan-friendly, he was Klan-backed. So was the mayor of Indianapolis, John Duvall. So were countless city councilors, county sheriffs, prosecutors, and state legislators. The Indiana General Assembly in the mid-1920s was packed with Klan members. Stephenson himself wasn't in elected office, but he didn't need to be. He controlled those who were. Legislators came to his office for orders. He dictated policy. He decided who got jobs, who got contracts, who got protection. He once reportedly said, "I am the law in Indiana." And he wasn't exaggerating. The Indiana Klan wasn't just influencing law enforcement, it was law enforcement. Police chiefs in multiple cities were Klan members. Sheriffs openly wore Klan pins. In some towns, the local Klan chapter functioned as an auxiliary police force. They conducted raids on bootleggers, brothels, and anyone they deemed immoral. They handed out their own justice. And because so many judges, prosecutors, and cops were Klan, there were no consequences. The system protected itself. This wasn't hidden. This wasn't a conspiracy theory. The Klan held massive public rallies. They marched through downtown Indianapolis in full regalia, 30,000 strong. They held picnics. They sold life insurance. They ran newspapers. The Fiery Cross, the official Klan newspaper in Indiana, had a circulation in the tens of thousands. It endorsed candidates. It published the names of businesses owned by Klan members so members could support them. It functioned as the propaganda arm of a political machine. But here's the dark reality. While the Klan presented itself as defenders of law and order, it used that power to terrorize minorities. Black residents in Indiana faced intimidation, violence, and economic exclusion. Jewish business owners were boycotted. Catholic families were harassed. The Klan didn't need to burn crosses in secret when it controlled the courts, the police, and the governor's office. It could use the law itself as a weapon. And then it all fell apart. In March 1925, D.C. Stephenson was arrested for the kidnapping, rape, and murder of a young woman named Madge Oberholzer. Oberholzer was a state employee who had met Stephenson at a political event. Stephenson abducted her, salted her on a train to Chicago, and left her so brutalized that she poisoned herself with mercury. She survived long enough to give a deathbed testimony, and Stephenson was convicted of second-degree murder. In November 1925, he was sentenced to life in prison. Stephenson expected Governor Jackson, his puppet, to pardon him. Jackson refused. So Stephenson talked. He released lists of politicians he had bribed. He exposed the corruption. He brought down dozens of officials, including Mayor Duvall, who was convicted of bribery. The scandal shattered the Indiana Klan's political power. By 1928, The organization had collapsed in the state, but for a few years they had run Indiana completely. Now, let's head south to Oklahoma. The Klan's grip on Oklahoma in the 1920s was different from Indiana. It wasn't as centralized, but it was just as brutal. In Tulsa, just 1 year after the horrific 1921 race massacre, the Klan was openly recruiting. By 1923, the Tulsa Klan claimed over 3,000 members, and many of them were in law enforcement. In multiple Oklahoma counties, sheriffs, deputies, and police officers were Klan members. They didn't hide it. In some cases, they conducted Klan business during their official duties. There are documented cases of police officers participating in Klan floggings and intimidation campaigns. Victims, often black residents or white people accused of moral failings, were pulled from their homes, beaten, and left with warnings. If they reported it, nothing happened. The sheriff was Klan. The prosecutor was Klan. The judge might have been Klan. In Oklahoma City, the Klan was so embedded in local politics that it effectively controlled city government for a time. The mayor, the police chief, and several city commissioners were either Klan members or Klan sympathizers. The Klan held parades down the main streets. They handed out awards at public events. They were treated as a legitimate civic organization, like the Rotary Club or the Chamber of Commerce. But the Klan's power in Oklahoma wasn't just about politics. It was about violence sanctioned by the state. Governor John Callaway Walton tried to fight back. In 1923, Walton declared martial law in Tulsa County and later across the entire state to suppress Klan violence. He called them a terrorist organization. He tried to expose their membership. But the Oklahoma legislature, which had significant Klan influence, impeached him. Walton was removed from office in November 1923. The Klan had won. Let's move west to Oregon. Oregon might seem like an unlikely place for Klan dominance, but in the 1920s, the Oregon Klan was one of the most politically successful in the country. The state had a small black population, so the Klan focused its hatred on Catholics and immigrants, and it worked. In 1922, the Oregon Klan helped pass a law that effectively banned Catholic schools. The law required all children to attend public schools, which would have destroyed Catholic education in the state. It was later struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1925. But the fact that it passed at all shows the Klan's influence. That same year, the Klan helped elect a governor, Walter Pierce, who was openly sympathetic to the organization. The mayor of Portland, the state legislature, and numerous local officials were Klan-backed. The Oregon Klan wasn't as violent as other chapters, but it was just as insidious. It used political power to marginalize Catholics, Jews, and immigrants. It pushed for immigration restrictions. It promoted 100% Americanism, which was code for white Protestant dominance. And it did it all through the ballot box. Colorado saw a similar pattern. The Denver Klan in the 1920s was massive. By 1924, the Klan claimed 35,000 members in Denver alone. The mayor, Benjamin Stapleton, was a Klan member. So was the police chief, William Candlish. The Denver police force was so infiltrated by the Klan that officers openly attended Klan rallies in uniform. The Klan controlled the city council. They controlled the school board. They used that power to fire Catholic teachers, deny jobs to minorities, and enforce a vision of Denver as a white Protestant city. In Texas, the Klan's influence was strongest in cities like Dallas, Houston, and Beaumont. In Dallas, the Klan claimed over 13,000 members in the mid-1920s. They controlled the school board. They influenced the police force. They held massive rallies at Fair Park, drawing tens of thousands of people. The Klan ran candidates for office and won. In Beaumont, a Klan-backed mayor and police chief used their power to raid vice districts and target minority communities under the guise of law and order. And in the Deep South, Alabama and Louisiana, the Klan's power was both political and violent. In Birmingham, Alabama, the Klan didn't need to control the government as overtly because the existing power structure already enforced white supremacy. But Klan members still held office. They still controlled police departments. They still used the law to suppress black political participation and enforce segregation. In Louisiana, the Klan had significant influence in rural parishes, where sheriffs and judges were members. They used that power to protect Klan violence and prevent any accountability. So how did this happen? How did a terrorist organization take over entire state governments? There are a few key factors. First, the Klan offered simple answers to complex problems. The 1920s were a time of massive social change. Urbanization, immigration, the decline of rural America, the rise of jazz, movies, and modern culture. For white Protestants who felt threatened by these changes, the Klan offered a villain. It wasn't economic inequality. It wasn't industrialization. It was Catholics, Jews, immigrants, and black people. And the Klan promised to fix it. Second, the Klan was organized. They ran voter registration drives. They endorsed candidates. They published voting guides. They got people to the polls. In an era when political participation was often low, a disciplined voting bloc could swing elections. And the Klan was disciplined. Third, the Klan used fear and intimidation. If you ran against a Klan candidate, you risked being exposed, smeared, or worse. If you were a politician who opposed the Klan, you might find a burning cross on your lawn. If you were a voter, you might face economic retaliation. The Klan didn't just win elections, it scared people out of opposing them. Fourth, the Klan exploited existing power structures. In many places, the people who joined the Klan were already in power. They were business owners, lawyers, ministers, doctors, and civic leaders. The Klan didn't take over from the outside. It grew from within the establishment, and once those people had Klan membership, they used their existing power to expand it. But here's the thing. The Klan's political power didn't last. By the end of the 1920s, it was collapsing. The Stephenson scandal destroyed the Indiana Klan. Internal corruption and infighting plagued other state chapters. The Great Depression shifted public attention to economic survival. The Klan's political machinery fell apart. By 1930, membership had plummeted, and many of the politicians who had ridden the Klan to power distanced themselves or were voted out. But the damage was done. For several years in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan had controlled or heavily influenced state governments in Indiana, Oklahoma, Oregon, Colorado, Texas, Alabama, and Louisiana. They had elected governors, mayors, sheriffs, judges, and legislators. They had used the law to enforce white supremacy, marginalize minorities, and terrorize communities. And they had done it openly. This wasn't a secret shadow government. This was the government. And that's what makes this chapter of history so chilling. We often think of the Klan as a fringe group hiding in the darkness, but in the 1920s, they were in the daylight. They were in city halls and courthouses. They were at the ballot box. They were the law. And here's the uncomfortable truth. They didn't seize power through a coup. They were elected by millions of Americans who believed in their message, who attended their rallies, who paid their dues, who voted for their candidates. The 1920s Klan wasn't an aberration, it was a mass movement. And it succeeded because enough people let it. So what happened to all those Klan politicians after the organization collapsed? Some were convicted of crimes like Mayor Duval in Indianapolis. Some were voted out and disappeared from public life. But many simply moved on. They rejoined mainstream politics. They became respectable again. This Klan membership was quietly forgotten or downplayed, and the systems they had used and the laws they had passed and the culture they had reinforced often remained. In Indiana, the Stephenson scandal ended the Klan's overt political control, but it didn't end white supremacy in the state. Segregation persisted. Discrimination persisted. The Klan had normalized certain attitudes and policies that outlasted the organization itself. The same was true in Oklahoma, Oregon, Colorado, and Texas. The Klan's political collapse didn't mean an immediate reversal of its impact. The judges they appointed served for years. The laws they influenced stayed on the books. The culture they promoted lingered, and that's the real legacy of the 1920s Klan. It wasn't just the violence, it wasn't just the terror, it was the way they used democratic systems to entrench white supremacy. They proved that you didn't need to overthrow the government to control it. You just needed to win elections. You just needed to convince enough people that your vision of America was worth voting for. It's easy to look back at the 1920s and think this could never happen again. But the mechanisms the Klan used, voter mobilization, media propaganda, fear-mongering, scapegoating, those are still tools in politics today. The Klan didn't invent them. And they didn't die with the Klan. The story of the 1920s Klan is a reminder that democracy isn't inherently just. It's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for evil. It can be used to expand rights or to strip them away. It can be used to protect minorities or to persecute them. The outcome depends on who's wielding it and who's willing to stand against them. For a few years in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan wielded that tool with devastating effectiveness. They ran cities, they controlled states, they were the government. And the fact that they did it openly, proudly, and with the support of millions of Americans is one of the most disturbing truths in U.S. history. The fall of the 1920s Klan offers some hope. Corruption, infighting, and public backlash eventually brought them down. The Stephenson trial exposed their hypocrisy. Journalists and activists fought to reveal their crimes. Voters eventually turned against them, but it took years. And in the meantime, countless lives were destroyed. In Tulsa, the Klan marched just months after the massacre that had killed hundreds of black residents and destroyed an entire thriving community. In Indiana, the Klan ran the state while terrorizing minority families. In Oregon, they tried to erase Catholic education. In Denver, they fired teachers for their religion. These weren't abstract political debates. These were real people suffering under a government that hated them. And that's why this history matters. Because it happened. Because it wasn't that long ago. Because the same structures, the same fears, the same tactics are still out there. The Klan of the 1920s is gone. But the idea that you can use democracy to enforce bigotry, that's not gone. That's a lesson every generation has to relearn. So when we ask, did governments in the early 1900s let the KKK run things? The answer is more complicated and more disturbing than a simple yes or no. In some places, the government didn't let the KKK run things. The government was the KKK. The governor was Klan. The mayor was Klan. The sheriff was Klan. They didn't need permission. They had power, and they used it. The 1920s Klan is a case study in how extremism can go mainstream, how a terrorist organization can rebrand itself as a civic group, how fear can be turned into votes, how bigotry can be wrapped in the flag and sold as patriotism, and how quickly a democracy can be used to dismantle the rights of those it's supposed to protect. It's uncomfortable history. It's ugly history. But it's our history, and ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Understanding it, learning from it, and recognizing the warning signs when they appear again, that's how we make sure it doesn't happen again. The Ku Klux Klan of the 1920s was one of the most successful political movements in American history. Not because their ideas were good, not because their vision was just, but because they understood power, and they understood how to take it. They took it from the ballot box. They took it from the courthouse. They took it from the state capitol. And for a few dark years, they ran the show. That's the story. That's the history. And that's the warning. You can click in these other videos if you like this one. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel for more history documentaries.